All right, 1 second, everybody. All right, what's up, everyone? This is Ryan here, and I'm doing another live stream or live coding session. So I'm not going to be using my webcam today because it's like 6 a.m. Well, 6:21 a.m. I look like crap, and also I'm not going to be talking super loudly because my girlfriend is still sleeping in the other room. But yeah, I was excited to finally sort out what was probably the last of the build Gradle errors. Here you can see build successful. So I'll briefly talk about what errors I was running into, and then we'll just jump into basically testing the application. So as you can see, I'm not doing the webcam chat box Android Studio thing today for for reasons mentioned before. We're just going to kind of jump into coding, but I can still answer questions, and I've got my laptop open on the side, so I should be able to see your comments. All right, so I just want to briefly recap what happened yesterday. So I pulled most of the code into the common module, and then the common main source set within the common module. And in this application, originally I was using linked hash map. I'm not going to set it up here because it might break again, but I was using linked hash map and linked list. And so those classes actually come from the Java standard library. They're Java specific, or JVM specific, I might say. Now, the thing about that is that the uh, common main source set in a multi-platform project is actually intended to be completely platform independent. So you can use Kotlin stuff basically, and that's pretty much it, apart from some things that you import. Now, there might have been a way that I could have configured Gradle so that we could use something like HashMap or whatever. I could have also possibly taken the code to implement linked HashMap and linked list and literally pasted that into the project, and that might have worked too. But I settled on switching to some Kotlin specific replacements for linked HashMap and for list. Now, if you're wondering what this bizarre looking data structure is, this is actually a one way to represent a graph data structure. In this application, I represent the Sudoku puzzle, a Sudoku puzzle, as a graph data structure. And originally I was very confused about what graph meant. A better word for graph data structure really is just network data structure. And specifically what you can do is you can represent a Sudoku puzzle as a directed colored graph. But I don't think most likely no one really cares that much about the data structures part. So anyways, what I had to do is I had to change our kind of primary data model here to represent a Sudoku puzzle. And then I had to change all of the resulting computation logic classes, I call them. So these are basically all the algorithms that I use to generate a new Sudoku class dynamically. And that turns out to be quite a complicated thing. Like there's, rough estimate, a couple thousand lines of code required to do that, because basically there's a lot of things you need to do. You need to build the skeleton of the graph data structure. What I ended up doing is I sort of have this seed algorithm which adds a certain number of initial numbers, you could say. In colored graph jargon, they're called colors, but color just means number in this case. But yeah, there's like a seed algorithm which adds a certain number of initial numbers, and it does that in a safe way so that it's not going to break the rules of the Sudoku game. And then we have to solve the puzzle, which requires this giant solver algorithm that I created here. And then what we need to do is we need to unsolve the puzzle to make it playable. But you can't just remove a certain number of squares. That does not actually represent the difficulty of a Sudoku puzzle. So I had to come up with these different algorithms which basically are capable of determining the difficulty of a Sudoku puzzle. And that was really quite tough. I had to figure out a way to do that that didn't actually involve any kind of mathematics in the traditional sense of the word. So that's basically what we're working with there. So I converted all of the linked hash map.
All right, what's up, everyone? This
Sorry,
is
one
here,
sec.
and I'm doing another live stream or live coding session. So
Sorry, I have my laptop running because I only have one monitor right now, and I accidentally played the audio. Anyways, so yeah, that's basically it with that. Now, we're not going to deal with any of this crap today. We're just going to work on getting the application actually functioning on the desktop version and the Android version. I think we're probably going to start with the desktop because that's actually easier to deploy once we get it set up, or quicker to deploy because it's just JVM specific. So I'm just going to open up another project. Just give me one moment here. And the reason I'm doing that is I set this up in a different project, so I just want to make sure I'm doing it correctly. So the main thing we need to look at is, let's see here. So this is obviously a multi-module project. We're going to open up the build Gradle for desktop client module. And the important thing here is we need to basically point the compiler to the main class, and that will be like our application, which will be basically how we'll actually deploy the desktop version. All right, so fun main equals application, and if I've configured the dependencies properly, then it should recognize that. Yep. All right. And there's a couple things we're going to need to do here. So one of the interesting things about doing desktop, or I should say multi-platform, is I like to describe it as being a little bit of a wild, wild west when it comes to doing a lot of things. It's very new, and to be honest, I'm quite enjoying that part. So I'm actually going to use my own method for, when I say method, I don't mean a Java method. I mean, hopefully you know what I mean. My own approach to setting up different screens in Compose, which uses remembered state, these container things that I'll be writing right now, and you'll just kind of see how it works. So active game container, we're going to make 2 container classes. So these are kind of going to represent what is similar to an activity in an Android application, at least how I use them in Android applications. So I don't use activities as views. I use them as containers. And some people complain about that, but I don't really, I think a lot of people just here don't fill activities with code, or try to use single activity approach, and a lot of people don't really think about why they're telling you to do that. Now, I think I might need to add a dependency to the common. Let's see, common. Oh no, I do have the dependency there. So where is our active game container? Okay, it is there, so Android Studio is just being lazy. Hey, what's up, Krish? Okay. Anyways, I do strongly advocate iActive game container. What did I call this thing? Oh, I see what's going on. Okay, I'm not following my own naming convention, so we're gonna prefix this with I active game container. That stands for interface. And no, we don't need to change any of that. Nope. Okay, and then same thing for the other one. So as I was saying, a lot of people, I think the primary message in using single activity architecture is to avoid making God activities. It's also to make it so that you can use fragments with the navigation library. I personally don't like the navigation library. It's definitely, I'm not saying it's a bad library, but it sits in this realm of a library which, for me, doesn't really actually solve as many problems as it creates for me. So I used it once and never again, pretty much. Um, Krish mentions, I'm new in Android development. Should I try to remember all the code, or is it fine, or will it automatically come automatically with practice? Yeah, definitely more automatically with practice. Um, but it depends a little bit. Like if you're a person with an extraordinarily good memory for code, then maybe that'll work for you. I've never been like that. My skills as a developer and knowledge in Android has come from writing code for thousands of hours, lots of practice. That's how I personally prefer to learn. So um, I don't think you should try and remember all the code. But again, maybe that's the way that you like to learn. All right, so we've created these container classes, and we're going to pass two things into them. I don't think in the original application we used any kind of intent arguments. So that's going to simplify things. Hey, what's up, Suraj? I'm streaming early enough to reach some of my friends in India. It's 6:30 a.m. here where I am in Canada. Okay. Yeah, so we don't deal with it's just a Sudoku application, so we don't actually deal with any kind of arguments. So all we're going to add to our desktop container here is a function type. For my friend Krish, you should eventually learn how to use function types because they're really cool. So we're going to call this thing state handler. It's going to be a function. Now in our main file here, we're going to create a, oh, you guys are exactly 12 hours ahead. We're going to create an enum, and it's going to be called screen state. So this is basically, you want to think of this as like each element in the enum represents a thing, a screen of the application. So this would be similar to like breaking your app up into fragments. So in this case, we have the active game screen state, and we have the new game screen state. So this is obviously when a user is actively solving a Sudoku puzzle. This one is when they want to generate a new one. And what we'll do is we'll say val screen state. I think that actually has to be a var. Var screen state equal, or no, by remember. So I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with immutable state. Sorry, I'm active game. I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with compose, but does it still have this stupid error? This is something that really irritates me. I don't understand why they haven't fixed this yet. The auto import issue. See, what happens is, so the initial imports, if you just import remember immutable state of, it has this stupid type variable has no method get value error, and you think that you're doing something wrong, but it's purely just that the IDE hasn't imported the correct thing. So it's really quite annoying. I wasted a lot of hours when I started compose just on that specific issue. What's up, new programmer in Technobyte? Yeah, it's you know, Technobyte mentions I also have lots of lint issues with compose. They almost always have workarounds, but that kind of stuff it's just frustrating and in my opinion probably pretty fixable. Okay, so we set up a remembered screen state, and then we have a when statement here. And oh, I also need to set up the root composable. Let me just check on how I do that. Okay, so we need a window, and we'll put our when statement in the window. So this represents like the window of the desktop application, if it'll import. Keyword if it'll import. What's the problem now? Okay, I might not have... No, I thought I added that. Oh, it needs to be capital. Okay, that is my bad. Sometimes I forget that composables are capitalized, so that's totally my fault there. Programmer error. See, I will complain about things when I think they're dumb, but if I do something dumb, then I will also fully admit to that. All right, add remaining branches. So for those who just joined, what we're doing is we're setting up a sort of like a scaffolding or framework for a desktop compose application so that we can switch to different screens, similar to like switching to different fragments or different activities in an Android application. And we're using the same interface in this thing for the desktop version that we used for the Android version, because interfaces are cool that way. All right, so we need to add a couple things here. So title equals, I think I have a string for that. String app name. Let me just double check on that. Craft Sudoku. Okay, cool. String app name. Why? What? It needs me to import it again? What's going on here? I have no idea. Okay. Again with the lint errors. We want. I don't want it to be resizable, so we're going to say resizable equals false. And by the way, if my beginner friend here, Krish, is still watching, when you see me kind of flying through this stuff, it's because I've already built it. It's not because I have this great memory for obscure commands. But one thing I can do is like to get a sense of what functions or arguments or whatever are in a function or something I'm trying to create. I can click inside the argument list here, which represents these brackets, and then I can just hit Control P, and that will actually tell me the different things that I can give to this particular composable function in this case. Okay, now the other thing we need to do is we need to create a way for our container to call back to the essentially this function here. So we've set up the remember screen state, and then we need a way to change it. So how we can do that is, let me just check the other project. We need to create a, okay, I see what we can do. So in our container, we create a function type which takes in a screen state. Yeah, just screen state. And I can return unit. That's fine. While we're here, we might as well just implement this. So how this works is we say state handler. This will be a var. Or no, I don't think it has to be a var. Never mind. State handler screen state.newGame. And this is how we basically pass the indication that we want to navigate to a different screen into our main application here. And what we'll do next is we'll just go here and we'll say, so we need to create the view model. So active game view model. Oh, that didn't work the way it was supposed to. There we go. Val VM equals active game view model. And what do you want? Okay, it doesn't take any parameters. Great. That's a little weird. Oh, I get it. Okay. So we create our view model. We then need to create our container, looks like. So we'll say dayview container. No, not dayview. Sorry, that's the other application that I'm basing this code on. Active game container. New program. Sorry for interrupting you like this. It's all good, bro. But when is the next beginner-friendly Ask a Programmer live? That is tomorrow morning. It'll be a little later in the morning, or for you guys, evening. But yeah, tomorrow. I try to do them every Sunday. It's just that there was a couple Sundays where I had something going on Sunday, so I had to do it on Monday. But generally speaking, it happens on Sundays. Okay, so here's the magic. So we have our remembered variable here. And by the way, if anyone has questions, you can interrupt me. I'm pretty good at switching gears here. I might not answer the question if it's super off topic though. So screen state equals it, just to make it clear for those new screen state. Let's just do that to make it clear for people who are not familiar with reading Lambda expressions. Why is it complaining? Oh, because I need to wrap this in curly brackets because it's a Lambda expression. That's why it's complaining. And I can actually get rid of these because I think yeah, that's all I need. Okay, that's better. So what we're doing here is in our active game container, we've created a function type, and then in order to satisfy that, we're passing in a Lambda expression. When the logic of the application tells our container that the user wants to navigate to the other screen, we invoke that function, which secretly is this Lambda here. And in this Lambda, we then mutate the remembered screen state. And what that will do is it will cause the when statement here to recompose, and that's how we switch to another screen. So that's basically how we do a very simple form of navigation in Compose Desktop. One of the ways you can do it. There's other ways, but yeah. Okay, I'm gonna copy. Am I gonna copy this crap? We also need a start function, and that's gonna take a few things. Suraj has a question. I want to try and learn Compose, but I also feel that I'm not that good in the existing view system. Should I start making small projects in Compose and move further, or should I nail the basics in the view? You know what? The only things you're really going to get from the view system in terms of something that's transferable to Compose is confused. No, I'm just kidding. What'll happen is, sorry, just give me 1 second here. I guess I create the logic in the container. So the truth is that in my opinion, mainly the things that you'll get are just VM. That works. The main things that you'll get are conceptual understanding of how to build a user interface. Like, for example, it can help if you're good with or familiar with the view system to understand that a composable is basically a view conceptually. However, in terms of how they're implemented, they're very different. So to answer your question specifically, I would just start making small projects in Compose, and I think that's going to, in the long run, help you master Compose more. There's just not a lot of stuff that's super transferable, to be honest, except for just some conceptual ideas. And some people wonder why the view system was so terrible. And when I say terrible, I mean there were things in the view system which just seemed like ridiculous workarounds that you had to make. Like, what's one example? If you wanted to theme some particular widget, you had to, before like API level 24 on Android or something like that, you had to basically stand on your head and spin around 50 times, and then sacrifice a small goat just to theme something differently than like the root theme of the activity. And then eventually they came up with context compat and then like theme overlay. And it just seemed like this ridiculous boilerplate kind of workarounds in the view system that were popping up all over the place. And it was really annoying. But the thing about it is that a big reason why that was happening is because a lot of the view system source code is literally 10 years old. It's literally a decade old. And when you're building on top of code that is that old, it creates issues. So the great thing about Compose is that so many things are 1,000 times easier to do in Compose, merely because we're decoupled from the view system almost entirely. Keyword almost entirely. With that being said, though, there is a learning curve for Compose. Like, if you're not used to building a declarative UI, it's a little bit tricky. Okay, I think this is a base logic with active game view event. Active game event. Okay, equals. No, we don't create it here. So this is a late init var actually. Once you get the basics though, Compose is awesome. There's so many things that are way easier to do. Okay, so we've got that going. So we say logic equals active game logic. And what do you want? You need the container, so we give it this. You need the view model. Oh, and we need these repositories, so I'm going to have to create these. Okay. So we're going to pass in a couple more things in here. So we've got the game repo, the stats repo, and the dispatcher provider. We don't actually really need to pass in that dispatcher provider. Or should we? Should we do that? I guess I kind of need to for testing, so we will pass that in. Never mind. All right. So I didn't actually. Milan asks or comments, I would like to see this app in desktop, how it looks like. I want to start learning from here. Yeah. For everyone watching, on October 30th, I will be rebuilding this whole application. And, well, I won't be doing the Gradle configuration, and I'll explain why in a second. But I will be rebuilding the Android front end, the desktop front end, and all of the common stuff. Pretty much everything other than specifically the Gradle configurations. And the reason why I'm not doing the Gradle configurations is, if you've watched any of the past live streams where I've been building or converting this application, so like the last couple live streams, then you'll know that I've been spending a very large amount of hours simply configuring Gradle, and it's been just a complete nightmare. Because one thing that I would advise people to at this moment steer away from Kotlin multi-platform is that configuring Gradle for a Kotlin multi-platform project, including Compose, is just a nightmare. It's just awful. What did I call this thing? State handler? Like, there's almost as many ways to do it as there are developers doing it, is the first problem. And then every time you try and add something in, you just get these really annoying, um, cryptic, useless errors in Gradle. And very often they're actually just misleading. So that's been really, really frustrating. Anyways, okay, so state handler, screen state active game. Okay, I will actually leave that to do in there. I think I'll probably end up handling this with a dialog box. Yeah. Okay, and then we'll have a start function. And this is going to be new game event. And start function. I need to get a mechanical keyboard. I was watching the Apache's live stream. I've watched it a couple times, and I really like the sound of mechanical keyboards. Oh, glad to hear that, Milan. Okay, val VM, no, not val, VM, this is new game view model. Pass that in there. Logic equals active game, no, new game logic. I seem to frequently forget which feature or application I'm coding in. Again, going back to having a crappy memory. New game logic. And then we're going to have this VM, game repo, stats repo, dispatcher provider. Now, this is an interesting one. Dispatcher provider. So in the Android version, that wasn't a class. Okay. Yeah, you're very welcome, Milan. So this is an interesting one. In the Android version of this application, I used a library called Proto Data Store, and I really liked it. I found Proto Data Store to be a very nice little library. However, I can't use Proto Data Store in this application. I've already gotten rid of it. Now, what that means is we're basically going to be using, what's it called? We're going to be using SQL Delight, and I think what I'm going to do, I've been told there are some multi-platform libraries to support this, but I think we're just going to use, we're just going to use SQL Delight for everything, just for ease of use, and I just don't really like using a library unless I really need to. Now, setting up like a database just to store some of the things we're going to be storing is a little bit silly, but at the end of the day, I think it'll get the job done. So what we're going to do next is we need to basically implement the backend, the persistence. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm actually just going to, first I'm going to delete the data stores, I think. Yeah, which does make me a little bit sad. I actually really, I liked data store quite a lot, and I'll continue to use it in Android specific projects, but just for this, it's not going to work. So we're going to paste, actually, no, did I copy? Yeah, I copied the persistence package. We're going, oh, did I do it properly though? Okay. No! Paste. Oops, I gotta keep quiet. My girlfriend's still sleeping, so I shouldn't be yelling. Yeah, whatever, just do it. Okay, so we've copied that over, and we're going to have to redo most of this stuff, and I don't know, I guess we'll keep the... I've got two repositories, game repository and statistics repository. I think we will keep those separate things. Settings and game storage was included in the same thing. Oh, never mind. We have three of these things. All right. What we're going to do is we're actually going to store the settings with the game itself. So if you stick around, we're actually going to be writing some SQL. You're going to watch me attempt to write some SQL anyways. We are going to get rid of the settings storage. So that's one thing we're going to do. We can pretty much... I'm just going to leave this code alone for now. And we're going to kind of start from scratch here. This is data store specific stuff, so we can just get rid of that. I think this is also data store. Yeah, we'll just get rid of that. A lot of this stuff is just not even really usable. We could actually use file storage, but I think we're just going to go with making a database. So let's we're going to jump into an impromptu tutorial on setting up SQLDelight. So the first thing we're going to do is next to our Kotlin source set, we're going to go new directory, and it's going to be called SQLDelight. So for those who aren't familiar, this is another way to create an SQL database. And honestly, I prefer it over Room at this point. Let's see here. So this is bracket cove. New package. com.bracketcove.graph Soku. Persistence. Okay. And then what is the file extension? appdatabase.sq. Now, what I'm going to do here, I am not an expert in SQL, so I'm actually going to paste the whole file of the other project, and then we're going to refactor it because I'm not going to remember how to just write it off the top of my head. So the first thing you need to do when you're working with SQLDelight is you need to create an app database. It doesn't have to be called this, but you need to create a database.sq file. And this is going to this is how we actually create the tables for the database. And we're going to need to fix a number of things here. So we're going to have a table for, I'm just trying to think, should I have separate? We're going to do this. We're going to have user settings. No, user statistics. And then we're going to have game data. And we will figure it out from there. Now, I'm just trying to think. Game settings. I think I have like a... Yeah. So when you're working with Proto Data Store, you end up having to use protocol buffers, which is a language that's kind of similar to JSON. So this is how I'm basically going to like kind of copy this. I think we have a difficulty enum already, so that's fine. So we're going to start with the game settings. can get rid of all of this crap. Okay, game settings. I don't remember if you can do that. What is it in SQL? Is it that? I don't remember how to write comments in SQL, so I guess I'm screwed. That's fine. Okay, so we start with the boundary. So we're going to say boundary integer as int. Not null. I'll have to figure out what the primary key will be. I haven't really thought of that, to be honest. We're only going to have one. Hopefully we won't need the primary key, but again, I'm demonstrating my almost complete ignorance of SQL here. So we've got the boundary. So the boundary represents the difficulty. The boundary represents the size of the Sudoku puzzle. So it's either going to be 4 or 9. Difficulty should be pretty self-explanatory here. Now, I have an enum to represent difficulty. So I think how we do this is we go text as, what did I call that class? Just difficulty? Okay. Not sure how well this will work, but let's try it. Where did that go? Also, this should be all capitalized. Just by convention, I like to make these things all caps. Okay, cool. Did I spell that right? Difficulty, yes. All right. I got way too many windows open here. Okay, as difficulty. Okay. So we've got the boundary, the difficulty, and then we don't need to add our own enum in there like that. So that's fine. And then we have the game data itself. Now this is going to be interesting. You know, I just realized I might actually have to use file storage for the game data itself, because it just suddenly hit me. How the hell am I going to represent a graph of an indeterminate size in an SQL database? We're not going to do that. Change of plans, everybody. So we are going to store the game data in here, and then user statistics. I think what we can do is I just need to look something up really quickly. Just give me one moment. Okay, I don't think we actually need a primary key. Okay, all right. Thankfully, because we're targeting the JVM, it should actually be pretty easy to set up file storage. In fact, I know it's really easy to set up file storage on both Android. I've already done that, and then on desktop. So we're going to do that to store the game data. It's unfortunate that that just occurred to me now. It's not actually going to change a whole lot. I might undelete some things. but it's making me think, should we have two separate tables here? Um, that's kind of overkill, to be honest. We're gonna have one table. Uh, User data. I'm gonna do some things here, folks, that I'm only doing this because it's a very small application and I don't want to kind of over engineer things, but I definitely wouldn't recommend doing what I'm doing right now in like a larger application. Because what I'm effectively doing is I'm sticking data, which is the term for it is weakly cohesive, not really related to each other, in the same um, in the same table. Now, the only reason I'm doing that is because I know I'm not going to be um, it's appropriate for the size of this application. And if I suddenly did decide I want to change it, because the size of the application and the data is so small, it's not actually going to be that much of an issue. But definitely not something you would do in a more complicated application. So, anyways, so we're going to store everything in one table called user data. Now, when I say everything, I'm not talking about the game data itself. I've decided we're going to actually just stick with file storage, and that's going to be cool because I can actually reuse some of the code that I had before, at least the Android specific code. So really what we're doing is we're effectively just replacing Proto Data Store with an SQLite database. Kind of overkill, but it is what it is. Okay, now we have, what's the other thing? User statistics. Okay. So these are like the user's records, kind of. Let's just, I'm going to split right. And we're just going to copy these in. So we've got for easy integer as int, not null. And I'm not going to type all of that out. So let's just go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So this is basically the time it takes for a user to complete a Sudoku puzzle at a given size and difficulty. Okay, cool. We're going to have update record. User data. Set. So we're going to say for easy, for medium, for hard. Yep. I haven't actually tried it, but I wonder if the database inspector works with SQLite. Okay, I shouldn't need that open, so I can zoom in a little for the few people who are watching this. We don't really care. My laptop keeps wanting to die. Okay. We don't really care about where, because there's only going to be a single row, effectively. But again, I'm just so ignorant of SQL that I don't remember. Do you need a... Okay, I think we can just leave out the... I think we can just leave out the where statement, but we'll find out. Update record. And basically, again, what we're doing here is we're just going to wholesale update the whole thing. How this will work when we want to actually update it is we'll just pull the old record, we'll update the only record that needs to be updated, and then write the whole thing back with that single update. So again, not something you would do in a large, complicated application where performance is a big issue, but it should not be an issue here. Then we're going to have update game settings, which will have a user data again, and we're going to do boundary and difficulty. All right, get rid of all this, slap in a semicolon. Okay. We'll need insert, and I think we can just do like an insert default. We'll call it that, user data. With all of these things. Oh, that's going to be fun. All right, here we go. Okay. And then we need, because reasons, we need to an equal number of question marks. Is that it? Cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. That's correct. Okay. Insert default. That should be the only insert method we need, so we can get rid of that. And then we need to select. So we want select, we'll say select game settings. And here we'll do, I don't remember how to select specific things here. So how do I do that? Do I do like boundary, difficulty? No. Okay, just let me look up how to do that. Because like I'm not so terrible that I just want to read the entire file in every time. That would be pretty crappy. Select column. All the examples I'm finding, it's just like select everything, and I'm just trying to figure out how do I select two specific columns here. Select specific column. Okay, I'm only gonna try this or look for a moment longer, and then we will just read the whole thing in, and I'll just slap in a to do. That's what I thought. Okay, so I think what the problem is, I just have to remove those. Is that it? From user data. Okay, cool. We got it. Okay. So this is when we just want to read something. All right. And then we have select what did I call it? Select record. And here we're going to do all of these. With a bit of the old copy paste. Okay. And then we'll want a select where we just get the whole thing. Okay, so that's like a basic, poorly written SQL database. SQLite database. Largely misused, but only for expediency's sake. And I don't actually mind teaching people how to use SQLite, even in a use case that's a little bit silly, because the good thing is people learn how to use it for more useful use cases. And it's just an easy multi-platform way to solve this particular problem. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so that's our app database. And then how this works is once you get that thing configured, it will actually generate a type-safe Kotlin API that you can use after building it. But we're not going to worry about that. The next thing we're going to jump into is we're going to create the file storage. And in order to do that, we're going to need... just let me look at this thing. So we've got game data storage. All right, we're going to be just, I'm going to be an absolute loser, and we're just going to, I'm just kidding, but everything's just going to go in one interface here. Interface iGame repository. That's fine. And this thing is going to have all the stuff we need. So save game, update game, create new game, update node, get current game, get settings, update settings, suspend fun. We're going to add in get user records. yeah, get user records. I don't know if I want to use this approach. I guess we can. Um, I'm kind of hit and miss on using the function types to represent success and failure. I was really into it for a while and then it kind of got annoying, but okay. On success, we will return something. What did I call it? User statistics? We're going to rename that to user records. Yeah. Okay. And then we want one to get the, or no, we already have get settings, so that's fine. So we've got that get user records and then suspend fun, update user record. This one will take in a record as an argument, so I think that'll just be a long. So this will be record long, and then we'll also need the boundary, and we'll need the difficulty, and then we have our on success crap. I don't remember. Just give me one moment here. I just can't remember. I think we might return the record. Why would we? I don't know. Probably this is just unit. I'm just checking in the Android application what I did here. Persistence. Call statistics. Oh, we needed to return a Boolean. That's what it was. Okay. I'm glad I checked that. So we return a Boolean, and the Boolean dictates whether or not it's a new record or not. So that's what we do there. Okay. Right now I think is a good time to just explain something here. So I used to be sort of a bit of an over-engineering advocate. 3 or 4 years ago, I would have had every one of these things actually being its own use case, i.e. a necessary layer of abstraction in this particular situation. And the reason why I don't do that anymore is that I did over time realize that there's this time and a place to really over-engineer things, and that time and place is when you're building a large and complicated system. And this is a Sudoku game with 2 screens. So I'm not advocating that you slap pretty much every data model behind a single repository unless you're building a very small application like this. In this case, it's fine. So just don't take what I'm doing here and think that it's going to scale to an enterprise level, what's the word I'm looking for? E-commerce platform. This is something appropriate for the job at hand. Anil says, love from India, love from Canada. Okay, cool. So, that's our repository done. And we will make like a class. This thing's going to have two dependents. So it's going to depend on two things. So it's going to be game file storage. And then what did I call my table? User data storage. We'll call it that. And we're not even going to make those into interfaces. All right. Cool. So we're just going to implement these. Now, what we're going to need to do here is we are going to need to implement these using the expect actual keyword. So let me show you how to do that. So we're going to create these classes in the common source set first, but we're going to do it in a special way. So what did I call that? I already forgot. Game file storage. And then user data storage. I think that's what I called that. Alhamdulillah. Okay, cool. All right, so we're going to create these things. Now, these are going to be expect classes. And if you're wondering what those are, I explained it in detail several times over during these live streams. So if you're really curious, then I can explain it again, but you're going to have to ask because I'm just going to carry on. So we create these expect files, and then these are going to have some functions on them. They're going to have, okay, expect class, game file storage. Let me think about this. Fun, update, update game. I don't actually remember. Can we use suspend functions here? All right, we're not allowed to have a body. Okay, good. We can use suspend funs there. Okay. Suspend fun, update game. And this is, so we're going to need, we will use that result wrapper thing. So we're going to just create a little sealed class here. Game file storage result. And it's going to have object complete. No, we're going to do data class success. I don't think we'll do like a completable style thing here. Game Sudoku puzzle. And then we have here success. We'll call this error. And this will be just exception. Okay, we'll do that. So this thing will return the game file storage result, and then suspend fun, update game, update node. I should also create the arguments here. So this is going to be game Sudoku puzzle. This will be node Sudoku node. Is that how I did that? Let me just make sure that's how I did that in the other project. Update node. Nope, that is not how I did that. Okay. Interesting. I think we're gonna, again, after we update the node, we'll return the whole puzzle. Yeah, let's do that. Sudoku puzzle. Update node. So this is when we're just updating a single node in the puzzle. And then we have, what's the other one we need? Get current game. And this is just going to be, sorry, that's not correct. That's supposed to be game storage result and game storage result. Okay, cool. So that should be, I think that's all the functions we need. We can update the whole game state when we create a new game. We can update a single node when the user updates a single node. And then we can also get the current game when the user loads the active game feature. So I think that's everything we need there. And then what we'll do is we will create our alternate versions for the Android and desktop source sets. And this is a primary feature of KMM. Okay, so we're going to make a package here called persistence. And we'll do the same thing for, oh, did I just screw something up? Oh, I see, I'm just confusing myself. Okay, we make the persistence package in both the other source sets. We'll create the class with exactly the same name, so game file storage. Okay. And here we use the actual keyword. Cool. I didn't even realize you could do that. That's handy. It's just like an interface. All right. So that's actually how we set that up. Obviously, it still needs to be implemented. So all I'm going to do, I'm going to call it a day for streaming pretty shortly here. But what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create the expect actuals for the other data storage mechanism. And then I'm going to call it a day for live streaming, and I'll basically just carry on off camera. But yeah, so we've got game file storage and then user data storage, which is going to be an expect class. And then, so for user data storage, we have the statistics. So let me just see. Get settings, update settings. So fun, suspend fun, get settings. And we're going to create another result wrapper class because I just like that little pattern. So I'm going to be calling it a day pretty soon. So I'm not sure if anyone's watching at this point, but if you are, now would be a good time to ask some questions if you're curious about anything, and I'll spend a little bit of time answering questions before I shut off if I get any. So you've got a few minutes to figure that out. This will be update data storage result. Update, no, user data storage. Apparently I can't read English. And then this, so let's see. success here we're gonna do complete, which is going to be an object. So this just signifies a situation where I don't actually want to return any data. I just want to return something I can't spell. And then here we're going to say val settings, game settings. What did I call that? Or just settings? Yeah, settings, val records, user records. Okay. Do I need to do it like that? That seems overkill. Maybe just exercise some very minute degree of abstraction here. So get settings will return success settings. Get records will return success records. Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. We've got update settings. Update records. Update records will actually need to return the success records. Return just want to add in a little note there as to why we're doing that. Update settings, update records, and then suspend fun, insert defaults. And that's just going to return complete. Okay. All right. So I might change some of this stuff. We'll see. This is just like a rough implementation. And then the last thing we will do is we'll again create those expect actual or the actual classes here. So in Android, we'll create class user data storage. Add the actual keyword. Did I misspell this thing? User data storage. Why is it not working? User data storage. Actual class user data storage. Oh, I put it in the wrong package. That's why it's complaining. Okay, that makes sense. Okay, now we can go Alt-Enter, add missing actual members. Cool. And then we'll just copy paste this thing over to the desktop source set. And we're good to go. All right. And I think that's all I'm going to do for today. I don't know. Do we have anyone watching? Ooh, we have 5 concurrent viewers. Would any of the 5 concurrent viewers like to ask a question or make any comments before I leave? But yeah, pretty nice little coding session today. Clean architecture enthusiasts are going to want to murder me, but that's okay. All right, well, I think that's everything. So for the people watching, if you're in the middle of... Oh. Jorge Vargas says, great streaming session, Ryan. Greetings from Ecuador. Muchas gracias, mi amigo. And Shohei Kawano, thumbs up from Japan. Arigatou gozaimasu. So for people who would like to join me for just a Q&A session tomorrow at roughly the same time, maybe a little later, I will be doing my live stream Q&A session. So basically what that means is I will be busy spending a live stream just answering questions. So if you would like to join in on that, then please do follow me on Twitter, because that's where I post the link to the live stream session, or follow me on YouTube and you can find it there. And drop by and hang out and ask some questions. Thank you so much for watching, and yeah, peace out, everybody.